Day 32, verses 37 38, the outcome of action. Namaste and welcome to Gita 360. In the previous verses, the focus was on the cost of turning away from what we know is right. Here, the attention is moved away from consequence, bringing it to something more fundamental: how we relate to the result of our actions. It is no longer about whether and how to act, but to act without being unsettled from within. If you fight, you will either be slain on the battlefield and go to the celestial abode, or you will gain victory and enjoy this kingdom on earth. Therefore, arise with determination, O son of Kunti, and get ready to fight. Krishna presents the two outcomes of this war side by side, not to predict what will happen, but to remove the fear attached to either possibility. We usually divide outcomes into what we want and what we do not want. That division creates hesitation. It makes action feel risky, as though one path leads to gain and the other to loss. Here, that distinction is softened. Both outcomes are placed within a larger frame where neither outcome defines the worth of the action itself. When we are deeply attached to one outcome, our mind becomes confused. We calculate, we hesitate, we delay. But when we begin to see that the outcome does not define us, we gain clarity. We understand that the action has to be taken and its outcome has to be borne. Determination then comes not from control over the eventual results, but from alignment with what needs to be done. This changes our relationship with taking action that we want to avoid. We begin to act not because we are sure of success, but because we are clear about our direction. Fight for the sake of duty, treating happiness and distress, loss and gain, victory and defeat all alike. If you fulfill your responsibility in this way, you will never incur sin. As long as we are emotionally tied to outcomes, our action remains unstable. We move towards what brings pleasure and move away from what brings discomfort. This constant push and pull keeps the mind in a state of chaos and confusion. By bringing a sense of balance to these opposites, we begin to step out of that cycle. Pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat. When we start treating these as two sides of the same coin, visualize the worst outcome and become ready to face either outcome, then the outcome no longer dictates our action. This balance of the mind is a quiet steadiness that takes a lot of practice. And once we reach the state of balance, we are not thrown off course by every change in circumstance. When action comes from this place of equilibrium, it becomes cleaner. It is no longer driven by anxiety or expectation. It becomes an expression of clarity rather than a reaction to outcome. And in that, there is a certain lightness, a sense that we are doing what we can without carrying the burden of controlling what follows. In our life, we spend a lot of energy negotiating outcomes. We think ahead, anticipate results, and try to secure a certain future before we even begin. This creates pressure before action has even started. When we anticipate, we hesitate in acting because we want things to go a certain way. We avoid action because we fear they might not. In both cases, our focus shifts away from the action itself and settles on what lies beyond our control. When we begin to shift our attention back to the action, something changes. The mind becomes less crowded. We are able to engage more fully with what is in front of us, what needs to be done, rather than being pulled in different directions by imagined outcomes. This makes us more present in our life in the current moment. Over time, this way of acting builds a certain kind of confidence. Not the confidence that comes from knowing the result, but the confidence that comes from knowing we can act regardless of the result. Thought of the day. Ask yourself today, where in my life am I holding back because I am too focused on the outcome? Am I trying to control something that is not fully in my hands? Thank you for joining me on Gita 360. May you find the steadiness to act with clarity and the ease to let go of what lies beyond your control.